Today, one of the darkest moments of the Gaza conflict is unfolding in the north of the Strip. As we speak, the Israeli military is subjecting an entire population to bombing, siege and starvation, as well as being forced to choose between mass displacement and being trapped in an active conflict zone. The bombing in North Gaza is non-stop. The Israeli military has ordered hundreds of thousands to move, with no guarantees of return. But there is no safe way to leave. The bombs continue to fall, the Israeli military is separating families and detaining many people, and people fleeing have been reportedly shot at. There is extremely limited access to this part of Gaza. Next to no aid has reached the area in weeks, with unlawful restrictions remaining, and many are now facing starvation. The Israeli military is striking hospitals, and staff and patients have been killed and injured or forced to evacuate simultaneously. Shelters, once schools, are struck daily. Communication with the outside world remains extremely limited. Journalists continue to be killed. Unimaginably, the situation in North Gaza is getting worse by the day. The Israeli government's policies and practices risk emptying the area of all Palestinians. We are facing what could amount to atrocity crimes, including potentially extending to crimes against humanity. Palestinian armed groups also reportedly continue to operate from amongst civilians, including places of shelter, putting civilians in harm's way, which is totally unacceptable. I have repeatedly expressed alarm at the methods and means of warfare and the gravity of the violations committed by all sides. For months, I have pleaded with all parties to the conflict, as well as all states, particularly those with influence in the region, to act to stop the carnage and destruction, to ensure the prompt and unconditional release of all hostages, and to ensure international humanitarian and international human rights law are respected. But still, this goes on and on and on. To all the world's leaders, I remind you of your responsibility to ensure respect for international humanitarian law as set out in the Geneva Conventions. These are universally accepted and binding norms developed to preserve the very bare minimum of humanity. I implore you to put the protection of civilians and human rights first, and not to abandon that minimum of humanity.